So can you please state your name?
My name is David James Smith.
Okay. David, where were you born?
I was born in San Diego, California.
And which war did you serve?
In Afghanistan, 2010, Operation Enduring Freedom.
Move a little closer so that they can hear you. Okay?
All right.
What branch did you serve?
Connecticut Army National Guard.
What was your highest rank?
Currently still in. I'm a staff sergeant right now.
Staff sergeant? Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
was a specialist when I was deployed.
In what general location did you serve?
I served mostly in Nangarhar province, along the Pakistani border, and then I spent some time up in Logman province and in Kunar province.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I enlisted.
Where were you living at the time?
I was living in Connecticut. Yeah.
Do you recall what date you enlisted?
I enlisted, actually, I do remember it was March 24th in 2006.
Well, why did you join?
It was something I always wanted to do. The military was something I always wanted to do. I had just started college, and a lot of my friends that I had made in my first year of college had joined, and they brought it up to me that I should join too. So we all kind of joined together, spread out over the course of a few months, but all around the same time. So it was myself and three other friends, and then we also had in our group of friends 3 friends that had already been in. So it seemed like a good choice to me at the time.
What year are you in college?
Right now, I think I fall under the category of a junior, but I've been in school for a long time, off and on, because of military service. So it's kind of hard to say.
So what branch of service did you pick?
Army National Guard.
Army National
Yep.
Guard. Why did you pick that branch?
So that's what my friends joined, and Army appealed to me because there are more options, more jobs in the Army than there are in the Marines or at least in my opinion that seemed like how it looked. I didn't really want to spend a lot of time on boats or working on aircraft, so that kind of ruled out Navy and Air Force. So I don't know. Army seemed like the obvious choice for me.
Can you tell me about your first days in the service? What was boot camp like?
First days in the service were really interesting. I remember getting down to Fort Benning, where infantry school is. So I did basic training in infantry school all in one shot, and I remember just getting down there. It was what I expected, but it was very difficult. My recruiters and my friends had set me up for success, so I knew everything I needed to know going into it. But it was not easy.
You're a staff sergeant now?
I am a staff sergeant now. Yeah. But yeah, back then I was a private.
Yeah.
As low on the totem pole as you get, and but I learned a lot.
Okay. How did it feel when you first went into service, first days of service?
It was a little overwhelming. I mean, you get a lot thrown at you at once, and all your individuality is taken away from you in order to make you part of the team. Part of a unit. So they train you to work with, work within a team, work within whatever element you're in. So they set me up. It's the whole idea of breaking you down and then building you back up. So they definitely broke me down and then built me back up.
How did it break you down?
Just mentally, you're deprived of anything comfortable, and then
anything comfortable?
yeah, I mean, you sleep on the ground, you sleep in the woods, you carry heavy weight in 100-degree weather with 100% humidity down in Georgia. It breaks you down. So
okay. So do you remember your instructors and How did you make it through?
I actually remember all of my drill sergeants. You start off being afraid of them because they're all very angry at everything.
Very angry.
Yeah, just angry at everything. But over the course of the training, I mean, you end up realizing that all of these guys have been overseas and they've been in these terrible situations, and they're really trying to do is teach you how to survive and how to thrive in the military. So by the end of the process, I wouldn't say that you like them necessarily, but you definitely respect them quite a bit. So
Okay.
and that actually helps you out when you get to your units, because then you automatically have respect for senior non-commissioned officers and officers. So.
What's the difference?
Well, officers are commissioned. You have to go through. It's just different set of training, different set of skills, and like non-commissioned officers. That's what I am now. Like sergeants and sergeant majors. You start from the bottom and work your way up. Officers start at second lieutenant and go up to generals. So it's just different.
So after boot camp, where'd you go?
After basic training, I came back to Connecticut and was placed in my National Guard unit, where I just stayed and trained with them for the next several years until we deployed in 2010.
Okay. What was your assignment there when you deployed?
When I deployed, I was a designated marksman, so I was given a scoped rifle and some extra training for how to use that rifle. So it's technically, the easy way to say it is it was a sniper rifle. It's not really a sniper rifle. It's just a more accurate rifle than like what an average rifleman will carry. And you're placed within a squad or within a platoon, and you just do normal operations with them, but you have a little bit longer of a reach than like the average rifle.
Okay, so how'd you feel about that? What were your first impressions?
I was really excited because I felt like I was better equipped than the other guys around me for engagements that we would possibly get into, because I would be able to see farther and shoot farther. So I was happy about it, but in the long run, it just ended up being a heavier rifle, and and it was harder to use. I mean, I got good at it, but only over time. So
Okay.
it's more work.
More work.
Yeah.
So, and then your other deployments, you came back and then you had more deployments?
No, I only went on the one in 2010. After that, they started kind of drawing back on combat troops in Afghanistan. So we haven't. My unit hasn't deployed since. So.
Okay. How long were you over there?
Just shy of a year.
Just shy of a year?
Yeah.
Okay.
About 10 months, I think.
What was your typical day like in the service?
In Afghanistan,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of mundane tasks, a lot of long, boring days, and then very few exciting, crazy days. But mostly, we had the same schedules. Where our main focus was guarding the border crossing between Afghanistan and Pakistan. So we really, every day we wake up and do it, between 8 and 12 hours down at the at what's called the Torkham Gate in the Khyber Pass, and just monitor traffic and foot traffic and vehicle traffic and search vehicles. And so the risk was high, but generally it was just the same stuff over and over.
You said the risk was high. Was there any engagement? Or?
In Torkham, there was very little that happened. Most of what happened was actually just over the border in Pakistan, within line of sight. But the Taliban in that area, they targeted the civilians because they were the civilians were responsible for the commerce, for the trade and supply routes that were going across the border. So they would actually bomb the truck drivers and stuff like that. All we could do was watch from Afghanistan. So it was a little difficult to watch, but
there was nothing we could do about it.
no, there's nothing we could do. I mean, our hands were tied. We weren't allowed to go into Pakistan, obviously, and even if we could, there's really nothing we could have done.
Yeah. Okay, so did you see combat?
I did.
Okay.
Later on in the deployment, we were doing missions with the rest of our battalion, which were in other provinces. We were getting called out because they were doing more combat operations throughout the whole deployment, whereas we were called in to help them out towards the end of the deployment because they were getting run pretty ragged.
They who?
The rest of our battalion.
Oh, okay.
So like the other companies in our battalion.
Okay.
So
How
towards the
many
end.
companies are in the battalion?
Well, in our battalion, we have our headquarters company, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta companies, and then Foxtrot company, which is our support company. Truck drivers, mechanics, cooks.
So like 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
6. Well, five companies and then a support company.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Okay. Were there any casualties?
Yes. From Connecticut, we lost. We had one soldier killed in action. Staff Sergeant Rivera.
Mm-hmm.
And then from our brigade, I'm not sure exactly how many, but I think all said and done, it was around 6 or 7 guys that were killed throughout Afghanistan during that deployment. But in our area, we lost 1.
Was this somebody you knew, or?
Someone I knew mostly by reputation and name. He was a very well-known soldier. I had met him a handful of times. We weren't friends, but he was a much higher rank than me at the time, and but it was someone that I had met, through a class here and there that he was teaching during training prior to the deployment, and it was someone that I respected, but didn't know him all that well. But it still, when that happened, it definitely hit home for everyone in the battalion. So,
What? Was there a memorial or something done?
We had, when we all heard, we were actually, when my platoon was informed that someone had passed away and we were told who it was, we were actually on our way out to do a mission, just to do a routine patrol. And so it was kind of a bad time to tell everyone, but, that because that was on everyone's mind. So we had a moment of silence, and everyone kind of put it out of their minds as much as they could, because the task at hand was a little bit, took precedence over.
How did it make you guys feel at the time?
There were a couple guys in my platoon that knew him quite well, and they had trouble dealing with it at first, but it was understandable, and no one really talked about it until later on, until everyone had time to kind of think about it.
Okay.
And we didn't know all the details yet either, so it was just kind of we knew who it was, and we knew that he had passed away. But beyond that, we didn't know anything else.
So I hear that you had some medals awarded or citations.
Yeah.
Want to tell me about that?
Well, the only one of note was just an Army Commendation Medal. Everyone in my battalion, virtually everyone got one, just for the fact that we, were deployed and had served, well. But one of the things that I had done that was actually annotated in the citation for that medal was our base, our FOB in Torkham.
It's called a FOB?
Yeah, forward operating base.
Okay.
We had actually taken fire. I was working down at the ECP, which is the entry control point, which is the gate into our FOB, and I was sitting in a turret, in a Humvee with a machine gun, and it was myself and 2 other soldiers working the shift that went until 10 p.m. And so we were sitting there just kind of guarding, just in case someone attacked us, which never happened. And it was a few months into our deployment, and nothing had happened up until then. So we were all very complacent. I was very complacent. I was actually, I was looking out, scanning my sector, but I had, and to my shame, I had like a headphone. I had one in, and just listening to music to pass the time.
Yeah.
And I never did it again. But I heard one shot, and I paused my music and I took my headphone out and looked around, and I didn't see anything. So I thought, because we were right next to a highway, and this had happened before, a truck backfiring or a blown tire off in the distance sounds like a gunshot. So I was just like, all right, that's probably what it was. And I put my headphone back in and I hit play. And as soon as I hit play, I heard automatic gunfire. I took it out, and forward of my position at about the 2 o'clock from where I was, there was an Afghan outpost. It was manned by our Afghan counterparts, facing Pakistan. It was up on a hilltop, and I could see that they were taking direct automatic gunfire. And so I yelled down to the other 2 guys that were down there, and when they were down in a shack that's used for what's called biometrics, which is just scanning fingerprints and retinal scans just to document people that work on our base. So when I called down to them, one of the soldiers came out, is a friend of mine, Richard Garrity. And he came out, and as soon as he came out, he and I started taking direct gunfire from that hilltop, because the Taliban had actually crested the hill. And so when we took gunfire, I actually went to traverse my weapon over, turn the turret, and the turret was jammed. And because no one had used it, nothing had happened. So this is, the last time we were ever complacent. So my turret was jammed, and then instead of being smart and taking the machine gun out of the turret and putting it just on top of the turret, I actually, for some reason, jumped out because my adrenaline was rushing. I wasn't thinking very clearly. I pulled the entire machine gun system out, jumped out of the top of the turret, and ran exposed down the front of the Humvee over to a wall, and then returned fire from there with my friend who had run up with his machine gun. So that was annotated in that award that I got, saying that I had successfully defended the FOB, which it ended up just being a funny story of how I was really stupid and it ended up being okay. But I thought that was a funny story.
It's okay, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's see what else. Okay, so you had friends there.
Yes.
Okay. Are you still friends from there?
Over the years, I've lost contact with a fair number of those guys. Every now and then, someone will reach out to someone else and we'll all get together. I still keep in touch with a handful of guys. I still serve with a few of them that are still in the military. But you can't keep in contact with everyone. So, but I am still friends with a number of those guys.
You might want to look at you might want to talk to Eileen
Okay.
about that, because there's a big shindig going
Okay.
on. So anyway, did you get any injuries, or any of your friends get injured, or?
I got banged around a lot in the deployment. Just I fell out of a helicopter at one point, not from very high. And carrying heavy weight, and my knees were shot, and then afterwards, during our demobilization, I had chronic back pain for the last couple months of the deployment, and it was excruciating. And I was actually put on muscle relaxers, and they tried everything short of seeing a doctor. But I didn't want to leave my unit that close to the end of the deployment. So after the deployment, it turned out when I actually got it looked at, it turned out that I had actually broken my back at some point. So probably when I fell out of the helicopter. But a number of guys fell out of the helicopter.
So you weren't
because
the only one.
you do what's called an air assault mission, which is when you ride in a helicopter to the site of a mission, and you dismount the helicopter rapidly, and it's usually at night, and you can't see how far down, and you think, because there's a ramp, you think that it would be touching the ground, but it's usually like 5 feet down, and you just stumble out. So.
Okay, so How did you stay in touch with your family while you? Did you leave? Did you join the military from home? Go straight from home to the military, or were you already living on campus
Well,
or something?
I mean, with the National Guard, it's nice because you're always home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go away one weekend a month, and a few weeks in the summer. But overall, you're home and you're in contact with your family. But when you deploy, it's just a big change of pace, going from more or less a civilian life straight to a deployed life. But you know, I Skyped with my family a lot. I actually, at one point, I had an interpreter that I made friends with. I had him go out into the marketplace and buy me a cell phone with and buy prepaid minute cards.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to just call because we did have phones available to us, but we had two, and there were 200 people on our fob, so two phones.
Doesn't make it.
Right. So it was nice to have my own cell phone. I could call whenever I wanted.
So when you were deployed, you left mom and dad and went into
Yep.
the army.
Yeah, and I actually, I pretty much just called them. I called, my just maybe one or two close friends and my parents, and that was really it.
So what was the food like?
The food was really bad, actually. Our base, a lot of the bases in Afghanistan have civilians that are contracted that go to Afghanistan and they cook, and it's great food, and we loved going to those bases.
Mm-hmm.
And even some of the bases that had army cooks were pretty good. Our base was really bad.
You had ready-to-eat meals?
Well, I mean, when we went out on missions, we had the MREs and stuff. But on the base, we had a chow hall, a dining facility, and our cooks were army cooks, and they were not very good. I don't know if it was the materials that they had or if they were just really bad. But I was constantly sick, and everyone was constantly sick to their stomachs, and so I actually ended up not eating in there anymore. I had, my family send me care packages with some food, canned food and stuff, and microwavable stuff because we had one microwave for our platoon.
One?
So, yeah, and then maybe two. We might have had two. And I actually ended up eating a fair amount of Afghan food, which didn't make me sick, but our army food did. So that should say something.
Okay. So did you have enough supplies? Did you?
Our supply was great. Yeah.
It was good. Okay, good. Did you feel any pressure or stress? And if you did, how did you handle it?
I mean, yeah, I definitely felt a lot, stressed out a lot. But when you're over there, it's easy because life is simple. You don't have to worry about much other than doing the tasks that are given to you at that given time. You don't have to worry about doing homework or you don't have to worry about girlfriends or anything like that. You just worry about the guys guys next to you, and that's what really gets you through it, is knowing that everyone else is suffering along with you, and you just kind of power through it, and after a while it becomes habit, and you can really deal with everything. So
okay. Did you have anything you would do for good luck before missions, or was there
all I did for good luck, I mean, the only thing I would do to calm myself down before a mission was I would just listen to music. I had my iPod, and I would just put my headphones in and just kind of zone out, and then we'd go on missions.
Okay, so was there a USO? How did people entertain themselves?
I had a lot of movies. Everyone really just kind of brought movies and kind of compiled them together, and everyone would just kind of, I brought, 200 movies, maybe, DVDs, and, I just made them available for everyone in my platoon, so, and other people did the same thing. So, movies were pretty much it, card games. After a while, I started getting, crazy with pulling pranks on each other, stuff like that. We had someone, the unit prior to us that was at this fob had actually built a really nice horseshoe pit. So we were playing horseshoes. I had a baseball and a glove, and someone else had, a couple other guys had gloves. We'd go out and throw a baseball. It was just just really keeping yourself entertained. I mean, we didn't really have a lot of downtime, and when we did, mostly you were sleeping or doing something to take your mind off of work. You know, just kind of relaxing. So.
Okay. No matter where you are or what situation you're in, being human, there's always some silver lining somewhere. Did you have any really good times, or was there any fun at all?
Well, yeah. I mean, mostly just with the guys that I was with. You know, pulling pranks on each other.
Like what? What's the funniest one?
Man. I mean, there's a lot not appropriate, but
That's okay. I'm 62 years old. There's
Yeah.
nothing I haven't heard.
well, you know, just one you know, more friendly one was that we, you know, in our buildings, they're plywood shacks. You know, that are on the outside. There's sandbags and what's called HESCO barriers, which are just giant sandbags to protect them. But inside, they're separated into rooms for people, and then we didn't have doors. We just used ponchos hanging over. And what we did was we actually stacked. I didn't do this, but I watched it happen. We stacked the cases of water bottles from the floor to the ceiling, blocking this guy's door, and he was in there watching a movie with his headphones on. And then we started yelling that the base was getting attacked, and he like grabbed his weapon and then ran full speed through the poncho and right into the wall of water bottles, and you know, poncho ripped off the wall. He was all wrapped up in it.
Was he okay afterwards?
He was a little upset. He was not physically hurt. You know, just, you know, stuff like that. We had a guy, because we had outposts within our base. Our base was actually built into the side of a mountain, so we had outposts, observation posts up on top of the mountain that were manned by Afghans and us. And the Afghans would get supplies brought up to them by this Afghan kid that had 2 donkeys. And he would walk the donkeys up, and we actually paid the kid to let us race his donkeys. So we had 2 of our guys get on the donkeys and race them up the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just stuff like that.
So you did do fun stuff.
Oh yeah,
You know?
yeah. You know, and you know, one good memory I have is each platoon on our base kind of was given their own village. We had 3 villages in our area. And ours was the village of Wardaki, and it was, you know, just a village that we would go to and talk to the leaders and let them know that we're protecting them, and, you know, try to ask them if they need anything, like, you know, new school or whatever. And every time we go, we bring, you know, new shoes for the kids or soccer balls or, you know, some food, water. A lot of times we bring bottled water. So there was a village that we went to, and, you know, we went there maybe once every 3 weeks, you know, and at one point, my cousin, who's now actually in the Naval Academy, which is funny, but she, you know, she was littler back then. She had sent me this little teddy bear in the mail, and with a letter saying, like, you know, you should give this to a little Afghan child. And so I wanted to do that, but I held on to it for a couple weeks because I didn't know. We didn't really interact with a lot of children, but and when I did, I just wanted to make sure it was a child that really wanted it. Mm-hmm. So I ended up finding this child, you know, seeing her, you know, because whenever you go to a village, you get harassed by children for asking you for money or chocolate or, you know,
something, or
water. Mm-hmm. And she was the one little girl that was kind of sitting off to the side, not bothering me. So I walked over and gave her the teddy bear, and that was really nice. Okay. But the downside to that story is when I was handing her the teddy bear, I got swarmed by all the children, and one of them stole my watch. So that was, you know.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, right. So with every good deed, there's something bad will happen, but that's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, it was worth it.
So are you able to? Did you make close friends? Are you able to keep in touch?
Oh
with
yeah,
them?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
The closest friends I still am in touch with. Yeah.
Okay. What are you going to do afterwards for a career?
You know, that's a really good question. Right now I'm in school for criminal justice. Not sure what I want to do with that yet. Most likely get into law enforcement, but really.
How did your military experience influence you thinking about your future?
More than anything, I think it was just the people that I was with. A lot of them are now in law enforcement, and that got me thinking about. I would really like to continue working with people like that. So, that's the atmosphere I would want to be in.
How did your military experience influence your thinking about war or the military in general?
I definitely feel more educated about that stuff, having been over there and been in those situations. So now I definitely know. I feel more worldly, I guess, about what's going on outside of our little bubble.
How? What do you mean?
Just I don't know. I mean, just being able to understand other cultures and having lived in other countries that are, engulfed in war. It's just I can definitely see. I guess see better, of what's going on in other nations. Especially the Middle East. I feel like it's never going to be, peaceful. And it's a scary thought, and especially with what's going on right now, ISIS and.
Allow me to rephrase the
Yeah,
question. Okay?
please.
Sometimes guys aren't really good at expressing emotion. That's not their thing.
Yeah.
How do you feel about war? Having been in the military, how do you feel about war?
I mean,
in general?
War is terrible, but I feel like in a lot of situations it's necessary. There cannot be peace without war, in my opinion, and that's a sad truth, but it's the truth. I saw some terrible things in Afghanistan, and I don't know, just this may be a little off topic, but the saddest thing to me about Afghanistan is that we're working hard and we're literally losing lives to maintain some kind of infrastructure in this country, and the Afghan people seem like they don't really care. So I feel like if we pull out of Afghanistan, it's never going to maintain this level or a better level of stability.
Do you think if you stay in, it's going to maintain?
No, I mean I think we, damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. How you feel?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do you attend any reunions of your buddies?
No.
No.
We haven't really had anything like that. A lot of the guys I said, a lot of them are still in. A lot of them I still just keep in contact with. I get together and go out for, a couple drinks with them from time to time, but beyond that, no.
Okay. How did your service and experiences affect your life in general?
That's a
Okay, let me
very
put this-
complicated question.
No, let me put it this way. I saw a picture of you
Yep.
when you just started.
Yep.
And I see you now. Okay. And it looks like you've grown up. But
Yeah.
how have you grown up? How have you changed from then to now?
Physically, I definitely look differently, but
That's not what I'm talking
right.
about.
Mentally, living in situations like we lived in Afghanistan, it can't do anything to you but mature you. I don't know. I felt like it aged me a little bit. I knew guys that went over there with black hair and came home with gray hair. It was.
How did it age you?
Yeah. Honestly, I just felt worn out mentally. Afterwards, it took me a couple months to really feel like I was right again after Afghanistan. Just because whether or not you're in combat, most of our deployment was spent not in combat, but it just wears you out because there's always the threat of combat or the threat of getting shot at or blown up. So it's just it wears you out. I don't know. And coming home and you see a lot of people that have no idea what you've gone through or what your friends have gone through or the loss that you've experienced or the experiences that you went through and people you feel like when you first come home you feel like everyone should know what you went through, but you don't want to talk about it. So it's kind of it's just a silly situation where you feel like you're entitled to respect, and I've seen that with a lot of my veteran friends, and I'm sure I've displayed it too. But you come home and you're angry more than anything else, just at people. And it takes time. Some people don't. I know a lot of guys that are just years later they're still just angry people, and they didn't used to be. I don't know. That's the
Okay.
best way I can put
That's the
it.
best way you can.
Yeah.
So you're not angry anymore?
I don't think so. I
I
don't know.
don't know.
Yeah. I don't think so.
I don't know. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Not really. I mean,
Have we covered all the bases?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've grown from now to then, okay? And you've grown in having seen the world,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And emotionally you've grown?
Yeah.
How?
I mean, I honestly, it takes a lot more now to get me angry, which is funny because when I first came back, didn't take much at all. I would get angry for no reason, but now that I've cooled down more or less, like it takes a lot to get me really angry. I don't know. I just feel. I feel older.
So I have one last question.
Yeah.
This is my question. You
Yeah.
don't have to answer it.
No, it's okay.
If you had a son, would you want your son to serve?
I would say yes.
And why?
That's a good question. Honestly, because I would if I could do it all over again, I definitely would. For all the good and the bad, I learned so much from it, like about life and about friends and about networking. I know so many people that I can use for references for jobs. I know so the people that I've respected most in my life were guys that I served with. And I would want, if I had a son, I would want him to know how that feels, I guess.
I'd like to thank you for your service and also for taking the time to do this interview.
Yeah.
Really, thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. I hope it helps.
Oh, I think it will. I would strongly suggest that you talk to Eileen, okay? Because I think that that will really make a difference.
Yeah.
Because you'll meet other veterans, okay?
Yeah.
It will provide you with opportunities for contacts for jobs and stuff. It may. I can't say it will
Well,
for sure.
yeah. Right.
And I think that it'll be something that you'll enjoy.
Yeah, I hope it helps you out.
Tremendously. Thank you, thank you.